This is the Farmhouse Studios. Farmhouse is something completely new and different to me, and I'm so thankful that we have it. But from the Farmhouse Studios, we have an actual recording studio here. And what 3sixteen Creative Works is going to do is we're going to record things, voiceovers, commercials, stories, right? Great stories of the Bible. But we're also going to record some podcasts, right? So 2020 was bizarre, I guess. And what it did was it shut down all of our live performance. So it took me close to a year to finish remodeling, reconstructing the farmhouse so that we can do this. But I'm thankful that it's all done, ready to go. And now our production company, 3sixteen Creative Works, has decided to jump into the pond of doing podcasts. So there's a couple that we have in mind. The first one, I guess the flagship one, right, is Talking With. The design of Talking With is to sit down with somebody who has an extraordinary faith life story. So here's the concept. I believe that the Bible is finished, right? That God's not going to write more than he already wrote for us. But I do believe that God is still writing stories, right? So the greatest writer who's ever lived, he's such a great writer that people aren't even sure that he wrote everything that they think he wrote. That's William Shakespeare. Well, there's only one author, greater than William Shakespeare, and that was God. He never duplicated a storyline, never recreated a character. Everything he created new. And I believe that God is still writing his stories in the lives of people today. So the concept behind Talking With is to tell God's stories through lives of people today. So family members, friends, relatives, people that you know that have an extraordinary faith life story is something that we want to bring out to people, and we just want to sit down and we want to talk with them. So the first one is called Talking With. The second one is kind of a business concept. The second one is called A Seat at the Table. And it really comes from the concept of like a boardroom or a conference room, right? So we're saving you a seat at the table. And in business terms, it means it's, hey, listen, you need to come in and talk to us about marketing or about our finances or about our sales or whatever. This is such a valuable conversation that you need to have a seat at the table. So we're just kind of taking the business jargon of a seat at the table and we're turning it into life lessons. It'll be a little bit more topical, so we will talk about normal, everyday life things like finance and marriage and sin or brokenness or whatever. But we are actually going to have 2 or 3 people around the table, and we are going to save you a seat at the table. Third one, is that we're up to already? Number 3. So our third one is called At the End of the Day. It's kind of a new business jargon. So it really kind of talks about all these different business concepts, right? We're talking about finance and we're talking about the building and sales and whatever. But at the end of the day, here's what's the most important, right? It's people. So what's the most important thing at the end of the day? And so that's our third podcast, or just kind of maybe a brief one, just called At the End of the Day. And then a new one we're kind of just toying with right now. So I believe that the Bible is just the story of Jesus, right? So it's not a history book. It's not a textbook. It's not a science book. There are those elements in the Bible. But for the most part, the Bible is just the story of Jesus from Nazareth, right? So it's his lineage, and it all kind of comes up and culminates. The pendulum hangs on John 3:16, which is God loves the world so much that he gave himself, his son, Jesus, that who would ever believe in him would not perish, right? So that's where the pendulum swings. Then after that, you talk about the early church and the apostles and Paul, the missionaries. But the story of the Bible has so much in there, relational brokenness. And I think it's great when I read the Bible. I think it's great to see some of the weirder things, right? Some of the first sin, right? The first murder. So the fourth podcast that we're talking about is True Life Crimes of the Bible. So I would host that because I'm not an expert in any field, but we'll have a couple guys in here, a couple people in here to talk about true life crimes of the Bible. How did Cain kill Abel, and why, and what happened as a result? So, true life crimes of the Bible. Listen, all this is so exciting, right? I mean, I'm a live performance theater guy, but I love sitting in front of a hot mic and just talking. But none of this gets done without a team, without a crew. So our manager is Danielle. She's does such a great job being the house manager for us. My sound engineer and producer is a kid named Justin. Now Justin's great, right? I mean, Justin knows how to turn dials and to flip switches and to plug things in. He comes in every day and he fills up the Canute valves with oils and fluids and whatever he does to make this thing go. The kid is a little genius. And also creative produced by Esther. So this is such a great team. It's small. We're recording all this live from the Farmhouse Studios. And I wouldn't be complete if I didn't thank the people who continue to give, and that is my dearest Larry and Sandy. Without them, none of this would be possible. So thanks, Esther, and thanks, Justin, thanks, Danielle, and thanks, Larry and Sandy. Hey, this is Clayton from 3sixteen Creative Works, talking about our podcast. Listen, if you like any of this stuff that you saw or you heard, I'm going to give you a couple places where you might find it besides coming in live to the Farmhouse Studios. There's a couple platforms you can find these on. So you can check out Facebook, YouTube, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, iTunes, and SoundCloud. So for the cheap seats in the back there, let me say this one more time. You can go to Facebook, YouTube, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, iTunes, and SoundCloud. You can find it under 316 Podcasts.